Welcome back to ZAPY Speaking here. And today we put on a reaction video. So what we're going to do here is I watched this video beforehand and no kind of key message, but Aaron here, he has absolutely no idea of what's going on. So we all watch his real reaction of what he first see it. So today we have Joe Biden's up. He talked about unity in a location that it was fought at the Civil War. One of the perhaps the most divided time of the U.S. And maybe some of us might concur we are going through a similar time frame. So that moment history, it might click here. So that's the content for this video and why we pick this as special. And second is, we have been commenting on Joe Biden for months now. I have noticed he has improved his speech a lot. And I think he has a speech coach. And we want to see, I want to show you how well he's doing in this speech. It's by far the best speech I've ever seen from Joe in past few months. So without further ado, let's begin watching our video and we will react at real time and look into Aaron's golden reaction.
Golden reaction. I'll do my best.
Golden reaction.
I'll do my absolute best. All right, let's get started.
On July 4th, 1863, America woke to the remains of perhaps the most consequential battle in American soil. It took place here on this ground in Gettysburg. 3 days of violence, 3 days of carnage, 50,000 casualties, wounded, captured, missing, or dead over 3 days of fighting. When the sun rose on that Independence Day, Lee would retreat. The war would go on for nearly 2 more years, but the back of the Confederacy had been broken. The Union would be saved. Slavery would be abolished. Government of, by, and for the people would not perish from the earth. And freedom would be born anew in our land.
Interesting. Okay, so let me just stop sharing here. So,
how do you feel?
I mean, it's a lot of intensity. So my gut reaction is he does a great job of maintaining intensity throughout. So as he's speaking, his eyes, he's not scanning, but he's looking from person to person, or more likely camera to camera or teleprompter to teleprompter, but he gives the feeling of person to person as we speak. And that's one way of really connecting well with your audience and bringing some intensity with really direct eye contact. And in partnership with that eye contact, he's pausing. And what we'll find in speaking is if we pause while looking up, we're thinking. But if we pause while looking at our audience, we're emphasizing and we're letting people focus on what we're saying. And he did that particularly between list points, I think. So what he would do is when he's saying, I can't remember the phrasing, but he's saying things, slavery, and at the end of the day, slavery ended. We were born anew. He kind of lists things, and after each one, he pauses, holds eye contact on one point, pauses, holds. It says another phrase, pauses, holds eye contact on one point, pauses, holds eye contact on one point, and by doing that, he really hammers those things home, which was really nice. The content was good because it used repetition and it's referring to historical precedent, which is definitely nice. It's setting the stage. So overall, I think he does a great job of it. I feel like politicians never use their hands enough. I want to see hands, and I want to see him use his hands to help emphasize those ideas. I don't mean big gestures. That wouldn't match. It wouldn't have the same energy. But I think more gestures to kind of really focus us in on something and saying something like the Civil War, like at the end of the day, it broke the Confederacy's back. Emphasize with our hand a little. Those are my thoughts so far, but I do think he has improved. I think you're right.
Yeah, I just want to add on one point and then we can move on to the next section. Is using the intense eye contact here. That's what I noticed in his debate as well. When Trump's ramble around and stuff and looking at, talking about nonsense, and Joe just stare at the camera and speak to the American people. And he tried really hard to get a message across through the lens there. I don't know if, I think this is a practice. I just making this clear because we are all now in this COVID era. We don't speak to the live audience anymore. So the sense of camera become really important. I feel Joe probably practiced with this, and probably get some coaching, and he's very consistent in his eye contact with camera as well. Many speech right now. So that's one thing we can keep in mind when we look at Joe's speech, and something we can put in action for our regular meetings over the camera here.
That is probably the biggest change that COVID has made for media, for speaking, is through eye contact. And we'll come back onto that later, but let's keep going here. We'll do another minute or so. So let's see. All right.
There's no more fitting place than here today in Gettysburg to talk about the cost of division, about how much it has cost America in the past, about how much it is costing us now, and about why I believe in this moment we must come together as a nation. For President Lincoln, the Civil War was about the greatest of causes: the end of slavery, widening equality, pursuit of justice, the creation of opportunity, and the sanctity of freedom. His words would live ever after. We hear them in our heads, we know them in our hearts, we draw on them when we seek hope in hours of darkness.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. So he's continuing the intensity. And part of me says, I want to see some variation in the energy level. I want to see some more up, and hopefully that comes. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see some of that in the next couple minutes. But I want to see more energy. But other than that, he is keeping the intensity. He's also still continuing to draw nice parallels.
Yep.
It seems intentional that what he's trying to do is connect himself with Abraham Lincoln. He's saying, well, Abraham Lincoln did this, and this is the time we're in now. So he's not going to directly say, I am like Abraham Lincoln, because that would be a huge faux pas. But by drawing a connection of, here's what Abraham Lincoln did, and here's the situation he was in, and here's the situation we're in, right? So it's this subtle implication that, oh, maybe I would be able to do similar things. Maybe I'd be able to do stuff. He's never going to say it, because I feel like, especially in the States, that would get a huge response from a lot of people saying, how dare you compare yourself to Abraham Lincoln, right? I think Trump's compared himself to Abraham Lincoln.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? How dare you? But I think Trump has compared himself to Lincoln a couple times, and I think he's gotten pushback on it. I don't know for sure. So I could be apocryphal, I could be wrong. But either way, I do like the use of that continued parallel. I want to see more energy variation, but overall, it is still a solid improvement over before.
Yeah, I would follow up in the parallel here because we're in this topic. There's two layer parallel in that part. One is big ideas, Aaron explained really well. The second is in the words. If you think back, he talked about causes 3 to 4 times. Causes of division and causes was current going on. So the word causes is the underlying was build is parallel in a specific mechanism. And that is pretty nicely done. Kudos to the speechwriter and kudos to him to do the great delivery here.
Yeah, he is using his word choice really well. Hopefully we can come back to that in a bit here. So, all right, let's keep going. We'll do another minute or so.
Yeah.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Here, on this sacred ground, Abraham Lincoln reimagined America itself. Here, a president of the United States spoke of the price of division and the meaning of sacrifice. He believed in the rescue, redemption, and rededication of the Union. All this in a time not just of ferocious division, but of widespread death, structural inequity, and fear of the future. And he taught us this: a house divided could not stand. That is a great and timeless truth.
I'm going to make a prediction here that he's going to follow that up in a hot minute by saying the house is divided again in some way. That's my prediction at this point, because
we can see.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, I'll see. He's, and I know we're not going to do the whole video because it's like 20 minutes long, but I feel like
we do put a link below. So if you want to watch the whole video, there's a link below.
I highly recommend you do. It's worth doing. So far I've been very impressed, but seeing this kind of speech is always instructional. So I do think he's going to, because he's obviously building up the idea of a house like equality, unity, right? That's what he's building towards. That's what Yangfan mentioned in the beginning. That's what he's obviously building towards. So I'm pretty sure, my prediction, he's going to come back in maximum 2 minutes. In maximum 2 minutes, he's going to come back and say something along the lines of, the house is divided again, right? And if not in 2 minutes, definitely by the end of the speech. Because I'm hedging my bet. But
yes, you are.
Sue me. It's definitely because he's obviously building towards it. He's building the energy now, so he is building up the energy by making his voice louder, so that does increase the intensity a little bit. I would like to see him try using the speed and pitch of his voice more. So something that Yangfan and I have discussed before, perhaps not on video, is the idea of mountains and valleys in our speaking, where we get higher sometimes and get extra energy before we drop back down for greater intensity. And I would like to see a little bit of that in here, but it's not, the speech isn't written for that tone, but I think a more effective speech could be delivered with that tone. Still solid. And we have my prediction. I could be looking like an idiot in a minute here, but we'll see.
Well, let's just continue to watch, see if Aaron's prediction is right.
See if I'm an idiot or not.
Very, very interesting.
All right. Yangfan's about to start laughing at me. He's already laughing, so.
Today, once again, we are a house divided. But that, my friends, can no longer be. We are facing too many crises. We have too much work to do. We have too bright a future to have it shipwrecked on the shoals of anger and hate and division. As we stand here today, a century and a half later after Gettysburg, we should consider again what can happen when equal justice is denied, when anger and violence and division are left unchecked. As I look across America today, I'm concerned. The country is in a dangerous place. Our trust in each other is ebbing. Hope seems elusive. Too many Americans see our public life not as an arena for mediation of our differences, but rather they see it as an occasion for total, unrelenting partisan warfare. Instead of treating each other's party as the opposition, we treat them as the enemy. This must end.
I think that's actually a good place to end watching the video here, especially to say, I called it. I knew it.
So he's right.
Actually, I can't take full credit because good speech writing leads to good conclusions or clear conclusions. So I think a lot of credit has to go to either Biden or whoever wrote the speech. I'm guessing Biden would have his influence, but there's also going to be a professional speechwriter involved.
They have some great speechwriter from this one.
And it clearly led to the conclusion, right? So the fact that I can predict it partially comes from my experience in speaking, but it also comes from the fact that it was written to that end. I think hopefully anyone would be able to make that prediction. It's a clear, obvious conclusion to the idea that he's coming to, which is we are a house divided. We were a house divided, and there's the speech given in this place. We are a house divided. There's now a speech being given in this place. The implication is clear. So it was well written, and it comes to an end. Speaking of end, when he says this must end, that was nicely emphasized, because he, as much as he was speaking slowly the entire time, he slowed down further, he paused longer, and he spoke with a louder and deeper voice. This must end. And by ending that with pauses and things like that, it gives an emphasis on the fact that this is an ending. So that was a well-emphasized section, not to mention all the previous stuff I said about building up to an idea and the continued use of eye contact and other things like that. So solid eye contact stuff. For points of improvement, like I say, I want to see more body language. I want to see a bit more energy fluctuation, because I think by the end of this 20 minutes, as much as it is a solid speech, at the end of the 20 minutes, I will be tired. And I tend to think my goal with a speech like this would be to energize, right? When we look back to previous presidential speeches, i.e. Yes, We Can from Obama, the goal of that speech was to energize. So he ended up with people motivated to vote for him because they're saying, yes, we can, right? Whereas with this speech, unless he brings up the energy, it's very somber. I might not feel as motivated. I will be engaged, but will I be motivated to act? And I think that's where energy comes in. I'm motivated by energy. And I think a lot of people are as well. That would be my interpretation.
So apparently Aaron really liked this part of the video and how Joe Biden delivered such speech. And Aaron go really deep into the speech technique. So he covered all the bases I don't want to repeat. So what I want to do here is put everyone back to the big picture here. I have to confess myself, for all this time, I'm looking for a speech for these two presidential candidates that make them the president. So I've been waiting for this moment. I think I might find this one for Joe Biden. I'm still looking for the one from Trump. What I mean here is, yes, there is a great mechanism of the speech, but there is a great timing in the long history. Link back to 150 years ago of a divided country, and now is a very divided country again. And he is the candidate that's to heal and that's to unite. And he did that part really well, and that make him stand out. So I would say this might be the speech make Joe Biden the president if he win the November election. And that's what I've been waiting for. So that's a big picture idea. Now we think about why he can make such impact. I think about the life history of Joe. He went through the golden age of US. Back in the days, in the 90s, there's super world power people live happily, everything is like we want to be like US all around the world. He lived through that. And from that speech, like Aaron said, the energy is low. He's not happy, no high energy. Can it be that he's grieving about the past of those golden age? It's supposed he's grieving and he want to bring it back. And he has the history behind him of bringing things back. And that idea is not really from me innovating. I have to give the credit to Joe Rogan, actually. He was on his podcast a few months back, even before this whole election began. He said the one thing will make Joe Biden has a chance of winning is because people can feel his grief of the golden age of US. And when all the American citizens feel that, they come out to vote again. They want to heal. So that might be his energy, the energy to bring people out. It might not be as motivated as Barack, but that is the history behind, and that is the spot for the US history for him to give this fitting speech. So all this location, timing, and his life history all come together in this one speech. And that's why found out that could be the speech make him the president.
And just to be clear, I do want to say this, that I don't think that it fits Joe Biden's style to do anything exactly like Obama did, like the Yes We Can. That wouldn't quite fit. I think it would make more sense for him to just, when I say I want him to have energy, it would still make sense to keep this more somber, more serious tone, because you're right, that's an excellent point. He lived through the golden age and is seeing the decline. So he's seeing Rome burn, so to speak. So he wants to bring it back. He's got an emotional base there, which is nice. And I think that leveraging that emotional base and trying to turn it into motivation later would be nice. He won't be able to do it the same way that Barack Obama did, because they're different speakers, different tone, different time. But I still think that variation would be important. Nonetheless, I know I'm going to definitely watch the rest of this. Potentially right now. Well, not right now, but we'll definitely watch it soon because it's interesting and I want to see where he goes with it. Does he bring in the energy? I'm not sure.
Or maybe we can come back with the other video. And the thing is, like Aaron said, he has a nice space now. Can he motivate people to make people get going, go out and vote? He still have a few weeks. So let's see, maybe some other speech might come out.
Yeah.
And to have some big energy motivation, because I feel his energy is going up right now. He's catching on the fire, and he's keep going through.
Yeah.
So that has been quite great to see the Joe's change in the last few months.
He is definitely.
I'm pretty sure he has a pretty great speech coach. I would like to find out who it is. Probably some news will talk about it after the whole presidential.
I'd be curious too. I'll have to do some Googling to find out. With that,
Okay.
To summarize it quickly, have an emotional base, use your eye contact and pauses, draw parallels through content, and deliver like you mean it, because I think he did those 4 things. And if we can, add some movement and some variation in tone. But overall, I think he did a spectacular job. Yeah.
Deliver like you mean it based on your life experience.
Yes.
The life history.
Yeah.
And that's all I want to say.
Excellent. So thank you very much for watching. With that said, please feel free to leave any suggestions down below, and have an excellent evening and stay fishy out there.
Stay fishy.